On the 149th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast, we're going to be talking about some NFL offseason news with the schedule release for next year. Blake Snell is on the IL once again. The NHL and NBA playoffs continue, and the Oilers are going on their 10th coach in 15 seasons. Make sure you just go to HatTrick Sports when checking out at w.gg for 10% off your order. Roll it! Welcome to HatTrick Sports, starring your host, Isaiah Carpenter. Bringing you the biggest sports headlines every week. This is the HatTrick Sports Podcast. All right, starting off episode 149 of the HatTrick Sports Podcast with the NFL. A lot of NFL news in May this month. Aaron Rodgers, 42 years old, oldest guy in the NFL, going on 43 years old, signing a one-year extension with the Steelers. Now, the Steelers did draft a QB, from Penn State in the third round, while waiting for Rodgers to make his decision. Because if you know anything about Rodgers the last few years, he's very indecisive. He waits till the last minute. He's got to go into a cave to think about what his future holds for him. So they drafted a QB just in case. They drafted Drew Eller from Penn State in the draft last month or a month ago or something like that. But he is 42 years old, a one-year extension with the Steelers. This deal is worth up to $25 million. He can't be doing this for the money much longer. You know, like he has enough money, he doesn't know what to do with his money. He'd rather live in a cave than have the money. He just loves the game this much. But one of the most interesting, if not the most interesting dude in the NFL. The guaranteed salary is like $22.5 million, and then it bumps up to $25 million with all the incentives and stuff like that. And he is expected to report to OTAs on Monday. So on Monday, he should be reporting to camp for the Steelers. And if he does all that, the Steelers are going to still go 9-8. That's just what's going to happen. They have Mike McCarthy as the head coach, which I think the Steelers were hiring McCarthy as the head coach to bring back Aaron Rodgers for one more season, because Aaron Rodgers won either one or two Super Bowls under McCarthy in his time with the Packers, and they were with each other for over 13 seasons. So they obviously have that chemistry together, which is going to work well in Pittsburgh. And then last year, Aaron Rodgers said that 2025 was likely to be his last season, but clearly changed his mind. You know, a man goes into a cave, comes out, changes his mind. Again, most interesting person in the NFL. He said last year his body was starting to hurt. He compared it to Benjamin Button. He said that's what his body felt like. He's obviously 42 years old, going to turn 43 later this season. It's going to be difficult for him, physically and mentally. I think with the young guys, he's obviously not a fan of a lot of the young guys and how they play and just their mindset. He's an old guy. They're young guys. It's just how it is. He doesn't like the new way of playing football. And he's just going to have to deal with it for one more year for $25 million. He has the choice not to play, so he obviously wants to play, but it'll be interesting. Physically, I don't know if he has it in him. I don't know how his stats are going to look this season. Last season, he had a 65.7 completion percentage with over 3,300 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. That's 4 touchdowns to interception ratio. 3.5 touchdowns to interception ratio. And then they lost in the wild card last year to the Texans when he was sacked 4 times and threw the pick 6 late in the game to lose the season for the Steelers. Again, could you argue that the 9-8 era of the Steelers is because of Mike Tomlin? Yes. Did the team change much? No. The team didn't change much. I don't think McCarthy's going to help that much. I think that they're going to be maybe playoffs, maybe not, losing wild card kind of team again. It's just how the Steelers always are. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to do much worse than he did last year. I don't think he's going to make any improvements. Again, it's hard when he's going to turn 43 years old this season, still playing in the NFL. But in December, he turns 43 years old. So later in the season, he's going to be 43 years old playing in the NFL. You got to respect the grind. He obviously loves the game, but this has got to be his last season, right? I mean, I know that's what we said the last 2-3 seasons, but I think this is it for him. And then after this extension, depending on how it goes, I don't even think that the Steelers are going to want to re-sign him, depending on how the team lays out and how the Steelers play out this season. The NFL schedule released the other day, and over the past few years, it has become a social media phenomenon. Which team can make the best schedule release videos? I feel like last year was a great year. The one with AI and Allen Iverson. You had the Minecraft one, which was creative. What were some other ones that stuck out? There were some great ones last year. I'm trying to think. I had a few more in mind. But it's one of like the biggest annual social media events in sports. It's just on a specific day. It started with the Seahawks. The Seahawks started the trend 2016 with the cupcakes announcing their schedule and revealing their schedule in 2016. But now teams compete to have like the most creative and viral release each year. Last year, the Chargers Minecraft one got got 20 million views on Twitter, and that was the most liked in terms of analytic, the most liked schedule release video of all scheduled releases. Again, I feel like last year was a really strong year. This year, I feel like it was a little bit weaker. With the schedule release, the 9 international games came out. We already had a few international games in place, but a total of 9. And then Roger Goodell is pushing for 16. He wants every team to play internationally. And then I think ultimately he's going to want to expand to Canada and Mexico, and then they're talking about a league in Europe. The NBA is doing the same thing. MLB's somewhat been talking about expansion and having a team in Canada, Montreal, Quebec, all that over there. But it's these American sport leagues, the NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB, they're trying to expand. They want a bigger audience, and they're all testing it out. You know, the Dodgers, the last 2 seasons, started their season off in Asia, in Korea, and Japan. You've seen NFL games go to Mexico and in Europe, Ireland, all that. NBA, they're talking about having a little mini league, 16. They're going to try to start off with a 16-team league in Europe, and then the NHL is already kind of USA and Canadian based, but actually I haven't heard too much about them trying to expand or move internationally, but they still have stuff like that going on. We'll see what takes place in the next 10 years, because I do feel like in the next 10 years, American sports are going to be somewhat worldwide sports and leagues in general. I guess these sports are already worldwide, but the leagues itself, they're trying to expand. The commissioners are trying to make more money, more viewership. That's the name of the game of the business in sports. But 16 international games is going to be rough. And again, if you have more than that, teams going international more than once in a season, teams aren't going to like that. But I saw a stat earlier. It said that nearly half of the NFL's TikTok audience comes from overseas markets. So having eventually 16 games overseas in Australia, again, I don't think they'll do too much in Asia or Africa, but definitely Europe. It'll be interesting. I think the next 10 years, seeing American sports leagues expand, it's going to be very interesting. And like I said, this year, weaker year in the schedule release. I feel like teams could have done a lot better. It's not the length. You don't need a 7-minute video. You need a solid 2-minute video, 90-second to 120-second video. It needs to be creative. You don't have to do too much on it. You don't really have to think too much about it. Just make it, I don't know. I feel like this year was a weak one. Maybe a lot of people will disagree with me, but it's just what I think about this year's scheduled releases. Blake Snell, moving into MLB news. Blake Snell is out indefinitely, says Dave Roberts. I know there are a lot of teams with struggling injuries, but the Dodgers are becoming one of them once again. We've seen in years past, the Dodgers, where is it here? I had it written down here. At one point last year, the Dodgers had 14 pitchers that were making over $100 million combined on the injured list. And Blake Snell was one of them, and he is hurt once again. He has loose bodies in his left elbow and is out indefinitely. They're saying surgery is likely. They want him to get the surgery, and the recovery for that would be 2 to 3 months, which would suck for the Dodgers, because the Dodgers are fighting with the Padres right now. We'll see what happens in October. October could be a different story, and I think it will be a different story, but I want the Dodgers to be up by 7-8 games right now, just breeze their way through the regular season, and then playoffs is when they really have to start worrying and actually start playing. I don't like how we're only a half game ahead of the Padres. But Blake Snell just made his season debut last weekend because he missed 6 weeks with the shoulder. So shoulder fatigue. I don't know the exact injury of Blake Snell, but he missed 6 weeks before with his shoulder. And last Friday, he said he felt something in his elbow during a catch session, and then now he's on the IL once again. Dave Roberts says that they're confident that he'll be back later this season. I just want him to be back now. I want how much? Yeah, he signed a $182 million 5-year deal with the Dodgers, and in November, and he missed most of last year to a shoulder injury and only made 11 regular season starts. And then now with this year, with his shoulder again and then his elbow, I just want the guys to stay healthy. I want a healthy lineup, a healthy roster, because the Dodgers shouldn't have to be worrying about players. They spend $420 million on payroll. They shouldn't have to worry about who their fifth starter is going to be. And don't get me wrong, Sheehan's good enough to be the 5. There are 10 teams that would love to have Sheehan on their rotation that don't, but I would like Blake Snell. Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell. I would like him. Yeah, and then you got Edwin Diaz, who has also been out and now getting in trouble with rooster fighting. What's going on with Dodgers pitchers? Dodgers pitchers and scandals and everything like that. Can we just have a normal team that stays healthy and just wins 3-peats? I get it. A Dodger fan's complaining. It's a shocker, but, I feel like with $420 million, the Dodgers shouldn't have to be worrying about rooster fighting in the Dominican Republic from Edwin Diaz. And then, Tyler Glasnow still on the IL. It just sucks. The Dodgers rotation is just all injured right now. They're in a somewhat of a slump. I know I call it a slump when they're 28-14 or whatever they are. I don't know their exact record. 28-18. They're first in their division. They're an incredible team right now. They're just in a somewhat of a slump compared to what they could be at. But yeah, that's just some major MLB news. No other major MLB news this week or right now. We're just going to go over some MLB standings. And then the AL East, the Rays, you got Tropicana, you got the bright roof. They got the new roof. They're back in the Trop in their stadium, and they're showing that maybe that was their problem last year. They are 29-15. They are 2 games ahead of the Yankees in the AL East. The Blue Jays, you come off of World Series, you think, they're going to try to go all the way this year. They're going to try to fight. No, they get rid of some guys. They get some guys, and yet they're still 9.5 games back in the AL East, just 45 games into the season. And then the Orioles and Red Sox are both 10.5 games back from the Rays. Red Sox, the season's going to be a bust. The Yankees have a chance. The Yankees are a weird team. You look at them in the past, and they've always been the strong team. They've always just been the best team in the league. And then now, recent years, they just can't come in clutch. There are games that they're supposed to win that they can't win. I get it. It's baseball. It's a 162-game season. The Yankees should beat the Rays. You know what I mean? Right now, they are playing the Mets, and I believe they're tied 1-1 in the Subway Series. But, Yankees should win the AL East this year. And then again, they're going to blow it in the playoffs, as they usually do. We'll see what happens there. The AL Central, one of the worst divisions in the league. The Tigers, they're going to make a comeback. They're 4.5 games behind the Guardians. The White Sox and Twins are between them. I feel like they're going to come back. The Tigers, they have the team, they have the guys. During winter meetings last year, there was a whole bunch of talks about Tarek Skubal going with the Dodgers and that it was a done deal. Then, the winter meetings kept going on, and then nothing ever happened. And you're like, the Tigers are going to try to make a run for it this year. No, I think they will. I think they'll make the playoffs. They're 4th in their division right now, but I think they'll end up getting to the 1-2. They might get ahead of the Guardians at some point. The Guardians are just super strong right now, but they'll be better than the Twins and White Sox here in a couple months, and it's just going to take some time. We're early in the season. We still don't know the exact how all these teams are playing out yet. We're only a quarter of the way done. But the Royals, I think they're lost. They're 19-27 right now. I think this season's pretty much going to be a bust for them. And then in the most surprising division in all of the MLB, from the start of the year to right now, is the AL West. You have the Athletics leading the AL West. Used to be the worst team in the league. You go to the beginning of this podcast, 149 episodes ago, we're talking trash about the Athletics, how they won't be good for 10 years, how they'll never win a World Series ever again. But no, here they are leading the AL West. Now, sure, the AL West is a horrible division right now. They are the only team above 500 in the division, but they're still up by 2 games against the Mariners and Rangers. The Rangers have been a strong team the last few years. Mariners have some of the best players in the entire league, still under 500. 22-25 are the Mariners, and the Athletics 23-22. The Astros, somehow... And again, I said it last week, somehow the Astros are going to find a way to make the playoffs. They're only 5 games back. They have time to come back. Injuries aren't helping them at all, but they do have time to come back. They're 19-28. They're going to have a winning record this season. I mean, they always find a way back. You look at the beginning of last season, they sucked at the beginning of last season. They ended up not doing too bad. And then the Angels... Angels are also a team in like some talks right now with Mike Trout. You know, Angels fans have like a love-hate relationship right now. They want to keep Trout, but then they feel bad for Trout because he's stuck on the Angels, and then is Trout going to get traded? I think Trout stays on the Angels just because of how his career's been. It was like later in Kershaw's career when there was talks about him going to the Rangers. I just feel like that's going to be the thing with the Angels and Mike Trout. Like, Mike Trout understands he's never going to win a World Series, but he's going to stay loyal to the Angels just because that's just how sports are. And he's been there forever. He has kids grown up there and stuff like that. But they are 16-30 right now. They are, I believe, the only team with 30. Yeah, they're the only team with 30 losses so far this year. 7.5 games back. I could have told you 2 seasons ago that they were already done this year. It's just a bust. And then let's move on to the National League. The NL East, the Braves. The Braves, the best team in the league. Up 8 games in the NL East, just 46 games into the season. The Phillies and Nationals are 8 games behind. The Phillies are going to be all right. They're at 500 right now, 23-23. They're going to start kicking it in. Nationals surprised me this year. The Nationals, you know, they're 23-23. I was kind of expecting them to go 500, but where they are in the division, I get it. It's like based off of how the other teams do. But the Nationals are a solid team. They're a solid team this year. Marlins, they're 21-25. They're going to end up being last in this division. The Mets, though, you know, you have the second highest payroll, and I say this every week, but they have the second highest payroll in the MLB, and they're 19-26, last in their division, 11.5 games back. Right now, not looking like they're going to make the playoffs. The Mets are the cool kid that tries to fit in. They pay all the money to try to do it, and they just can't do it. It sucks. I mean, like, I want the Mets to do well. You know, they have some stars on the team. They have an all-star lineup. They just don't produce runs. They don't produce runs. They don't produce outs very well. They don't produce games very well. It's... I'm hoping they have a better 3/4 of the season and they jump up. I would love to see the Braves, Phillies, and Mets fight it out. It looks like the Braves are just going to take it all. And then, again, I'm just hoping that the Phillies and Mets can try to fight it out. Make that somewhat interesting because, again, the Mets, I feel bad for Mets fans. They're the ones paying for the contracts and stuff. They're buying all the jerseys and stuff and the tickets and everything like that. It's like... your team sucks, and you got to pay the most money out of anybody in the league. The NL Central, this is probably the most consistently best team in the MLB. The Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals are all tight right now. They're all within 1.5 games. The Cubs, 29-17. Brewers, 26-17. I'm shocked that the Brewers have played 3 less games than the Cubs. I don't know what that's about. Then the Cardinals, 27-18. It's funny. Oh, no, I'm looking at something different. The Brewers have been strong the last few weeks. They've been very good the last few weeks. You know, caught up to the Cardinals and about to pass them and hopefully make a run for the Cubs. I feel like nobody talks about the NL Central that much just because they have no, like, dynasty teams in here. Like, you see the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Astros, like... The NL Central doesn't really have one of those teams. They're just consistently good. And it's going to be fun in September to watch these teams fight it out because they all have a chance. I mean, even the Reds, last in the division, the Reds and Pirates, they're last in the division, but they're only 5 games back. They have a chance. They have a chance at making playoffs. Pirates, I hope they do it for Paul Skeens. If not, Paul Skeens got to think about his future. I get it. You were the first overall pick. You came up to the MLB in just a month or however long it was. You want to stay loyal to Pittsburgh, but you've been with Pittsburgh for a season and a half. Like, you've been in the organization for a season and a half. You want to go somewhere that's going to win, and the Pirates don't have a bright future. They really only care about one guy, which is Paul Skeens, and I don't know. I hope Paul Skeens has a solid career somewhere other than Pittsburgh, because I feel like Pittsburgh doesn't have a bright future. You even look at their farm system. It's just horrible. And then the Reds, kind of the same thing. They're good. Like, don't get me wrong. All these teams are good. They're all over 500. It's just a tough division. And then last but not least, you have the NL West, the Dodgers. The Dodgers are in first just by a half game against the Padres. Padres are throwing it all this year. You know, I don't know. The Padres are throwing everything they have at the Dodgers this year. I'm hoping the Dodgers this summer can kind of get ahead of the Padres. I really don't want to be fighting it out for 6 months and then have to play another month and try to win a World Series. I'd rather rest for these 6 months and then give it everything for the October and November. But the Padres are fighting them. And then again with the Braves, how strong they are, the Dodgers NLCS might be a little tricky. This year. I'm hoping that they can pull off the 3-peat, but with how the Braves are doing and how the Dodgers are doing right now, again, I get it. It's a long season. Braves win that matchup. They just do. With the injuries and stuff for the Dodgers, the Braves win that matchup. And the Braves, they had it coming for them. You know, the last couple seasons, Acuna was hurt. They had a down year. They had a couple down years. Now they're back. They're definitely back. And it's going to be like the 2023 Braves again. Then you have the Diamondbacks 6 games back. Giants 9 games back. Rockies 10 games back. They don't even have a chance. It's just the Dodgers and Padres division. The Madres. All right, let's talk about ABS. Talk about it every week. Just give a little update on ABS. The ABS is the best thing to come from Major League Baseball since the universal DH. I mean, I would argue that ABS is better than the universal DH. I mean, I can't think of the last thing that the MLB implemented that was better than the ABS system, and I can't wait to see how it evolves. But so far this season, there has been 2,811 taps on the head, attempts to overturn calls. Out of that, there's a 53% overturn rate, so 1,497 calls have been overturned, and that is nearly 1,500 calls that would have been wrong last season. For all the old heads that are like, ABS is ruining baseball, umpires were just part of the game, this, that, and the other, there are 1,500 calls, and this isn't like total calls. These are close calls that would have been wrong. We're only 45 games into the season. ABS, even if it's 1%, it's helping. If there's a 1% overturn rate, that's still a good thing for baseball. Out of those 2,800, just over 1,300 have been from batters. They have a 47% overturn rate. They're starting to get a little bit more greedy with it, but I think it'll start to come at them more once they realize their established strike zone, because they've never seen their strike zone until now. I mean, strike zones have been evolving for the last 100 years. They've never actually seen what their real strike zone is until this year. So I think they're going to start getting more comfortable with it, being more, disciplined with it as time comes along. I think this first month and a half, they're just kind of testing it out. But again, they're at 47% overturn rate. Anything over 1% is good for baseball. And then fielders as a whole have a 59% overturn rate. Most of those are catchers. Catchers have a 60% overturn rate, while pitchers have a 35%. Again, pitchers are biased towards their own pitches. They think things cross at a certain angle. They're 60 feet, 6 inches away from the plate. They don't know what they're saying. They don't know what they're talking about. Leave it up to the catchers, unless you're a reliever. If you're a reliever or closer, 9th inning, you can't bring the challenges on to the next game. So that's where pitchers can tap on the head, and I won't complain. But again, that's where catchers also have to do it. Like, let the catcher make the call. There have only been 57 attempts from pitchers out of, 2,800? So, again, low percentage of pitchers are doing it, but pitchers, there are 37 that you've gotten wrong. Anything above 1% is good. I'll stand by that. 35% is lower than the catcher's 60% overturn rate. All right, let's go over the NBA playoffs. We have the two best words in sports today, and it is in the Eastern Conference semifinals. You have the Pistons playing the Cavs. The series is tied at 3. The Pistons, I thought they were going to lose to the Magic. The Magic went up early. I believe the series was at 3-1 at some point, going into Game 5 in the first rounds of that Pistons-Magic series. But yeah, here they are again in another Game 7. They went into Game 7 with the Magic. They ended up winning. They're going in Game 7 against the Cavs. We'll see if they can pull off the win. It's in Detroit. Obviously, Pistons are the 1 seed. They're favored to win. You see, let's go by game. So Pistons won Game 1. Pistons won Game 2. Cavs 3. Cavs 4. Cavs 5. So the Cavs won 3 in a row. Then the Pistons pushed it to Game 7. I think the Pistons are definitely favored to win tonight. The Game 7's tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern. I don't know. With Cunningham and Mitchell, I don't know. I feel the Pistons, I definitely think the Pistons are going to win, but with how they've played the last 2 series, it's actually questionable. Like, the Cavs definitely have a shot. 1 second. Yeah, right now the Pistons are at a 4.5-point favorites, but again, I think that's just because they're home. We'll see what happens tonight. Game 7, anything can happen, but more on the bracket. We have the Western Conference Finals set. You have the Thunder playing the Spurs. Now, the Thunder are 8-0 in the playoffs right now. There are a lot of people saying that the Spurs are going to beat the Thunder and they're going to pull the upset. The Thunder have not lost a game. They went, 1 second, where is it at? They went 64-18 this season. They lost 18 games this season. They're 8-0 against the Suns, which the Suns, yes, they aren't the best team in the league. And then the Lakers aren't the best team in the league, but they're still good. They're 8-0 right now. They haven't lost yet. I don't believe it has ever happened for a team to sweep through the finals, but it might happen. Because with the way the Pistons, if the Pistons win, they've just gone through 2 Game 7s, so now have to play the Knicks. If the Pistons win that, they're going to be exhausted. And then again, the Spurs, don't get me wrong, the Spurs are an incredible team right now, an incredible team as a whole. And I think that they'll win some games, but I think that the Thunder win in 6. I don't think that's crazy to say the Thunder win in 5 or 6. I don't think it goes into Game 7. We'll see how the Spurs play it out. But yeah, the Spurs have lost 3 games. Yeah, they lost 2 to the Timberwolves. Again, a great team. Spurs are a great team, but I'm not going to say the Thunder's bench could beat the Spurs, but the Thunder just have a team that just can't lose right now. And then the Knicks swept the 76ers. The Celtics, or not the Celtics, the Hawks they didn't even give them trouble. They just won 2 games. But Knicks Thunder, is that the finals prediction as of right now with 5 teams left in the NBA playoffs? Right now it's Thunder, Knicks, and then Thunder win it all. I've said that 2 months ago that the Thunder was going to win it all. And if you don't think that the Thunder are going to win it all, you're crazy. If you think the Spurs are going to win it, just get out of here. And then the NHL bracket, same thing's going on. You have Game 7 tomorrow. You have the Sabres playing the Canadiens. The Canadiens just blew a 3-1 lead last night, and ended up winning 8-3. That makes me think that the Sabres are going to win. This game's being played in Buffalo. This Game 7's being played in Buffalo. Canadiens, they have a good team. They won. It's just been back and forth. I just think the Sabres win this. With how Game 6 went, being home, I think it's just the Sabres game. So the Sabres would end up playing they would end up playing the Hurricanes, and then the winner of that will play either the Golden Knights or the Avalanche. The Avalanche, been on fire. They are 8-1 right now in the playoffs. They swept the Kings, and then they just lost. Which game was it? They lost to the Wild in Game 3, but they were already up 2-0, and then ended up winning the next 2. I know this is the Vegas answer, but I think that the Avalanche win it all. You look at the brackets and the teams, and the Avalanche are by far the best team in the league right now, and the one seed, you just can't not think that the Avalanche are going to win it all. So yeah, Game 7 tomorrow. Whoever wins that plays the Canes, and then whoever wins that makes the Stanley Cup. All right, let's move on to the top 5 players with the most playoff appearances without a title. There have been quite a few guys that are GOATs, Hall of Famers, that have never won a title, but consistently make the playoffs. Let me move over to the tab. All right, at number 5, you have Chris Paul. He played in 149 playoff games, never won a single title. It sucks. It would suck to be in this position, but, Hall of Famer, that you got a plus there. It's like Mike Trout if he ever made the playoffs. Sam Perkins had 167 playoff appearances, played in 167 playoff games, and never won it all. Making podium, you have John Stockton, 182 playoff games played, never won a single one. The only active player on this list is James Harden. Can he do it in his career? Probably not, but he has played in 186 playoff games, 0 championships won, 0 finals won. And then Karl Malone, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, 193 playoff games played, not a single trophy won. Sucks to be these guys. They made it far, could never win it all. But Hall of Famers, nonetheless, for most of them. Most of them are Hall of Famers. The NBA MVP was officially announced this morning, and SGA wins back-to-back NBA MVP awards. I think the official announcement is tonight, or was it last? I think it's officially tonight. I don't really know what when the official ceremony is, whatever. But he won the MVP for this season, as he should have. He had an incredible season. He's only the 5th active player to win back-to-back or consecutive MVPs. You have the Joker, you have Giannis, Steph Curry, and LeBron. Those are the only 4, all future Hall of Famers. Is SGA a future Hall of Famer? He's young. He's under 28 years old. He's the 7th player in the last 40 years to win multiple MVPs before turning 28 years old, so he's 27. This season, he was averaging 31.1 points per game, which was 2nd in the NBA. He was shooting 55.3% field goals, and then he was averaging 6.6 assists per game. The Thunder, incredible. They're going to win it all this year, like I said, but they went 64-18, which was for the 2nd year in a row the best. It was the best record in the NBA. And then he also won the Clutch Player of the Year, and he led the league with 175 clutch points, which is just points in the last 5 minutes of the game. And then he's the first player since Michael Jordan to average 30-plus points per game in 4 seasons in a row. Jokic and Wemby were also finalists in the MVP race, but you can't be mad with SGA winning. And then again, they haven't lost in the playoffs yet. The Thunder are just a strong team right now. And then it also makes you think about him as an individual player. Every retired player that has won back-to-back MVPs is in the Hall of Fame. They are Hall of Famers. SGA, I think, cements his spot in the Hall of Fame. I've always argued if you're the best at one time, you're the best of all time. So yeah, if you win an MVP, I think if you win a single MVP, you should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, there are some exceptions to that. If you have just one great year, you shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. But SGA deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I get it, he's only 27 years old. He's young. He's only been in the league for a few years. He's proved to himself that he's one of the greatest of all time. And I like to keep the Hall of Fame pretty tight. SGA is going to be in the Hall of Fame. especially winning back-to-back MVPs. He's going to win the finals this year, and he has a bright future. All right, now it's a little hockey news. The Oilers fired Chris Knobloch. This will be their 10th coach in 15 years. The Oilers, they made the Stanley Cup Finals back-to-back years, 2024 and 2025. This year, they got knocked out by who'd they get knocked out by? By the Ducks? Is that who they got knocked out by? Yeah, I believe they got knocked out. I thought I had it on here. But yeah, with this firing, they will have 10 coaches in 15 years. He is the 6th coach with McDavid on the team, and he was drafted in 2015. You think about Connor McDavid, 6 coaches in 10 years. It's been 10 years he's been in the league. That's not good. You don't really want that for a guy like McDavid. But Knobloch led the team to back-to-back. Yeah, I said that. His 3-year contract extension hadn't officially started yet, so they kind of just let him go. And then McDavid's has a 2-year deal that starts in July, and then the team's just taking a step back. I feel like the Oilers were on top, and they're just kind of taking a step back with this. I feel like it was early. You go back-to-back, making the Stanley Cup Finals. I get it, this year wasn't the best year, but give the dude another season, especially you want consistently with the Oilers team. And, McDavid said that it's an average team with high expectations, which it is. Like, everybody expects the Oilers to go all the way, but when you look at their team on paper, it's really not. It's not all that you expect. And then, reports had that Bowman reached out to Bruce Cassidy before even telling Knobloch he was fired. That's also a little interesting to me. Like, you don't have a transparent front office. And then Bowman also said that he won't let McDavid choose the next head coach, which is also, I'm not going to say that's questionable, like the players shouldn't, but I don't know. I feel like the Oilers front office isn't as transparent as people have thought in the past. And then with all 10 head coaches in 15 years, is it the coach's fault? Like, at what point do you realize that it's not the coach's fault? I don't know. It's just a little headline. It's surprising. 10 head coaches in 15 years doesn't look great for the organization. All right, that is going to wrap it up for the 149th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Thank you all for listening. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, your Amazon Alexa, YouTube for all the visuals. Make sure to go to shophattricksports.com. Get the best merch around. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter for all of our social media. And we will see you guys next week for episode 150.